to another broadcast. So glad that you guys can join us today, being April the 14th, 2025. We got lots to talk about. We're going to get into the China syndrome that's going on. And we're going to try to do some type of breakdown on what's really going on with all of that, okay? But we're going to have to hit the news. Some of the things you ain't going to like hearing about, but we're going to have to talk about it anyway. And give you an update on Samba University. We're going to talk about that too. And any of your questions at all, we'll take that as well during the broadcast, okay? All right, we're going to give people about another minute and a half, and then we'll go ahead and get started, okay? All right, under a minute, and then we'll start. All right, about another 15 seconds and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, welcome to another broadcast here on the Samba Journeys page. So glad that you guys can join us. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Today is Monday. I hope you had a wonderful Monday. You know, a lot of times people like to say Monday blues and all of that. No, Monday, every day should be a great day. If you're alive, that means, and you got natural air going through your lungs, then I'm gonna tell you right there that means you have some opportunity to get things done and to move further ahead, you know, and climb higher, you know, and that's what your motto should be in life, is to always aim high, climb higher, and to separate yourself from all the nonsense. And that's, I want that to be my life, always to be doing that. And want it to be a model for that, just to always, even my own mediocrity, I want to be able to rise above that on the next day. Whatever I was mediocre in today, I want tomorrow, I'm going to aim even higher than that tomorrow, you know? And so every day should be like that. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, we got quite a few things we're going to cover this evening, and really appreciate you guys being here. For those in the chat, thank you for being here as well. And yeah, so this weekend on Sunday, we had our inaugural class for Samba University, and we are so, it was, I had a blast. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And it was fun teaching it and just hearing the responses from folks and all of that. And it seemed like people were getting it. And so, yeah, we covered quite a bit of territory. The goal of the class really, again, was just to get you, like someone said in the class the other day or yesterday, they said, thank you for teaching us to fish. And that's exactly what it was. It wasn't to get you to get all the latest in reels and rods and weights and sonars and all that stuff. You get to, if that's your journey in that space to get to that, then you get to that naturally. But it wasn't any attempt to upsell you on anything at all. It was just to get people familiarized with the technology and to show people all the different things that you can do with it. And that was just, it was just kind of an introduction. That's really all it was. And so, but yeah, we provided quite a bit of information. Even the stuff I didn't cover, they got a 78-page book that I was able to put together for them, and you can use that as a reference. Speaking of which, this inaugural class, because they are a special group, there's quite a few things that they are going to have access to. I'm working on that right now. Give me about another day or so, and check your email. I'll have an email sent out. Everything from a discount every now and then you'll get at sambatree.com. You will also get discounts going forward forever. Any other classes that we do, you will always have a discount. It'll be, you'll get a discount. It ain't gonna be free, but you'll get a discount on any future classes that we will do. You will automatically be entitled to that. Also, from time to time, I may send out like kind of an update as far as like, some more helpful tips, to the topic. In this particular case is ChatGPT. Already got a few things in mind right now I want to send to y'all. But like I said, again, let me just cover first things first here. And so those kind of things there. We really like taking care of our people, and especially those that, that took the chance and signed up for the class. And so we really appreciate that. And that's just our way of showing our appreciation for you. And we want to continue to see this thing grow. And Nicole and I, we were talking last night of some other ideas we have for different topics, that we can really dive in and talk about, and to really give you some in-depth, some really, really good info that you can use to, grow your own knowledge base. And that's it. So anyway, looking forward to that. And again, really appreciate each and every one of everyone that took part in that. The next class that is coming up is going to be I'll have the date soon, but that's going to cover AI artwork. Okay. AI artwork. It was funny. I didn't think I needed to add that, but I added it later on our community page. Last night I just wrote that I was kind of, thinking back to my own childhood and just some of the things that, growing, part of my childhood, it was growing up in North Philadelphia, and just thinking about all the fun times that I had. No, that is not me. No, I ain't look like that, but there's little hints and things there that reminds me of, going out, walking out in a summer day or whatever, the kids will be outside playing. I don't know about y'all, man, but I grew up in a time where children, it was very common to see children outside playing. And it wasn't until I got older, and I got married, and I was like, the first thing I noticed, because that was like, wow, I'm an adult now, right? And, because prior to that, I was living in an apartment with some other guys and all of that. But when I got married, that's when I started noticing things. And one of the things I noticed, I was like, dang, there's no children out here playing, like none. Like I grew up with children, you seeing the girls out there doing double dutch, doing hopscotch. And I know all that stuff seemed old and all of that, but children were out there doing bike races and building ramps, jumping ramps where someone find a piece of wood and somebody find a couple of bricks somewhere. And then we'll all pretend that we were Evel Knievel. Look him up if you don't know who that is. We would do things like that. So these are just, so I had all of that in my mind, and I was, thinking about different snapshots in my own childhood, and I just took it to AI and I just started creating some things. And so these are some actual images that I was able to create, last night. It took me a minute, but I was able to get it. And these are some of the things that you are going to be able to do too, with the class. I was thinking about, like that last one you just saw, I was thinking about the summer trips I would take to my grandparents' house in South Carolina. And that just kind of reminded me of that. This one reminded me of, when we would have family, the family would get together in Fairmount Park in Philadelphia. And you always had the uncle or two that be on the grill, all of them swore up and down they can do something, and they could to a measure. They could, but the kids, all we cared about was the hot dogs and the soda, the orange soda. It didn't matter. The orange soda, orange and grape soda. It didn't matter who made it. Crush, that was a brand name. I think it's still around, but it could have been store brand. We didn't care. All we wanted was the orange and the grape, and and we would have that. I could still see the cooler right now. I could literally see it in my mind right now, full of ice, and it had all kind of stuff. It had the sodas in it. Then you had another cooler that had the Schlitz in there. They had the Schlitz in there, and they had Michelob in there, and some of them old school beers. It had them the beer that was for the adults. They had their thing, and so thinking about this too. Going, the one trip we took going to Atlantic City. That was a big thing back in the day too. Family trips to Atlantic City. That's when Atlantic City was okay, but it was kind of on the down by that time. By the time you start hitting the 70s and the 80s, it was going down. So these are just different things. And I have a lot more pictures that I actually was making. I was on a roll of different images and stuff that I was making of this particular time period. And I was like, man, I should just do an album, even though these people ain't real. But, I want people to be able to remember, how, yes, we, despite all the negativity and stuff that's out there, that's going on right now, Black folks, we did have some very fun and entertaining and wholesome times. Wholesome. And I emphasize the word wholesome. It didn't involve twerking. It didn't involve, all that other stuff. Now, trust me, there was a lot of mess going on back then too, but it wasn't like what you see today. And so, I think about that, and and I know many of you think about that too. I was thinking about, I said, next time I go back home to New Jersey, I'm gonna go look through my that photo album, because man, we got so many memories in there, and it's good to hold on to those and to recommunicate those to people, even if I got to use AI, recommunicate that to this generation so they can, see what's up, So anyway, so yeah, so we're gonna be talking about that. I'm gonna be showing you how you can make images like that, and using multiple platforms. We're not going to just be focused on one, but I'll be actually focusing on multiple platforms on that. So we got one on AI images, and the one after that will be the one on AI music. And we'll be talking all about that as well. Okay. So again, if you want to follow up on that and you want to stay tuned on that, make sure you go to sambatree.com, which of course you go to Samba University, you got all of that. But while you're there, make sure you check out everything else that we have at sambatree.com. We got the wellness, health and wellness. That's our thing. That's what we're focused on. Man, y'all are still jumping on this. I was like, dang, they still buying, people are buying these cotton sheets. And so we checked with the supplier. They're starting to run down now. So, if you've been kind of sort of thinking about it, you may want to go ahead and jump on that, because yeah, they're starting to run down now. But we have everything from guava leaves to elderberry juice powders and different powders. We have cacao husk tea. If you haven't tried that, make sure you check that out. We got a whole assortment of different teas that are medicinal, that can help you with a wide range of different health ailments, or you just wanting to beef up on a certain area in your health. We got a whole array of different teas, powders, bitters, sea moss. I mean, just check it out. The website again is sambatree.com. Okay. All right. So just want to make sure I covered all of that. And let's go and get into what we're going to be talking about today. So anyway, we're going to start with the news, of course, as I said earlier. And like I said, this platform here, let me just tell you this. Like I said, I have no problem getting into under the hood. I have no problem with that, because my intention is to do some repair work. So I know there are people, when I start getting under the hood and start exposing some of this stuff, this mess, people don't like it. Last I counted was over 50, closing in on 60 people since the last video that unsubscribed. I told you I don't really care about that anymore. I'm not the numbers person like that. I never really did care about it, but I really don't and I realize that the more you talk like this and you show these things, people don't really, you're dealing with a generation that has been so groomed and trained to always see ourselves as the eternal victims. But when the mirror is held up and we see that we got some things we got to deal with, a lot of people don't want to deal with that. So I got to get out of here. I can't hear that. But I'm not going to do that. We got to be real. We got to tell the truth. But most importantly, we also got to provide solutions. So at the end of this broadcast, of course, like I always do, my focus is going to be on what are some things we can do to elevate ourselves as individuals and to rise above the mess. So that's really what my focus is on all the videos that we do here on this platform. So if you can stick around and you want solutions, you stick around and you'll get it. Okay. Let's touch on the Carmelo Anthony story. I don't know if you guys have heard. Well, initially his bond was set to $1 million. And, you know, of course, what happened was they went to court and they was able to get that down to 250,000. Now, if you go on Twitter, on some of these other social media platforms, you know, you got people who are very upset with that, you know, mainly a lot of white people. They're very upset with that. And they're saying, see, and the judge just happens to be a black woman, you know, and they have video of her, you know, really praising DEI. You know, she's one of those types. But I don't think that had any, my personal opinion, that has nothing to do with it. I mean, if you have followed these court cases, you know, and I don't follow all of them, but, you know, some of these high profile ones, that's typically normal what happens. I mean, something like this, the prosecution is normally going to go for a very high rate, a high bail rate. They're going to try to get the highest number that they can. That's the first thing they do. And then counsel for the defendant, they'll go in and try to negotiate a lower bail. And more often than not, depending on the person history, it will actually get reduced. So that's not out of the ordinary. You understand what I'm saying? Regardless if the judge was black, white, whatever, DEI, 92%, it doesn't matter. That's typically normal. So to see people out here flipping and tripping about, oh, see, the system is rigged and all of that. Well, we could tell you something as folks here. We could definitely tell you something about how the system is rigged, and that ain't rigged. That's pretty standard, you know, on what they do with that. And I'm mentioning that because for some of you who are on social media frequently, and you see people out here that are pushing these arguments like, see, look at what they're doing. And, you know, people from, you know, the whiter side, let's just say, saying this stuff. Again, go back to the video that we did recently where we talked about these rage baiters that are out here. There are people on all sides. They are totally invested in getting you in your feelings and in your emotions. And so what we try to get people to do here is to look beyond that and don't engage. Do not engage. This is not a time to engage in that particular story. There are plenty other things that we need to be focused on. And I personally assure you, Carmelo Anthony ain't one of them. He isn't. It's unfortunate on what happened there, but this is not a make it or break it for all black folks. Let me say that again. Carmelo Anthony, and however this turns out, is not a make it or break it for all black folks. And to sit back and to watch and see how so many black folks are treating it as such, that is the story in of itself. Because if you saw that recent video we did, there are so many black folks that are out here right now that, you know, we went through that the other day. We went on that GoFundMe and we found at least 10 people, 10 black folks, children, older people who were just asking for a couple of $100 to maybe a couple of $1,000 because they got hit by a stray bullet. And and some of them, their campaign has been up for a year and a half, 2 years, and they still ain't getting it. But all of a sudden, Black Voltron comes out of nowhere and we're supposed to, no. See, it starts with the people that ain't, you know, it starts with these unknowns. You know what I mean? If if you want to say that this is a community, you focus on those that are part of the community. You understand what I'm saying? Don't just go to the ones that fit a narrative. Go to the ones that are, like your Bible says, the least of these, right? Some of the main people that quote from the Bible, they will ignore that part. So these people who, a lot of people, I mean, they're putting it out there, and some of these stories have been on the news, but we don't really hear nothing about it. Why? Because the statement that's really being made is they don't matter because they do not fit a certain narrative. That's the statement that's really being made with all of this. You only matter if you are engaged in a racial kind of narrative. That's the only time you matter. And that's crazy and it's insane. And you try to bring this up, of course, once again, people don't want to talk about that too much. Anyway, let's see. You good? Oh, okay. All right. So that's going on. That's going on right now. As far as that, like I said, folks, please, guard your emotions on this story here. If you want to continue to follow it, that's up to you. But I'm telling you right now, some of the facts that we do know is that there is no official police report that has been released at this time. I still got people going around, a couple of people leaving comments talking about it was 2 people that beat up on them. And then there was some other ones that said some other stuff was going on and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, you're saying all this and there's no police report, well, I saw it on TikTok. Somebody said something, and I saw it on Twitter. Someone was saying something. No. You got to deal with the facts as they are known. So if you want to follow that story, my encouragement to you, just like with anything else, make sure you stick with the facts. Guard your emotions. I'm personally telling you that it's this particular story. It really isn't worth it. It really isn't. My hope is that, justice will come, and will be, and I don't have any doubt that it would not. What you're really saying now, all that money that they're raising, it's not so that they can get him to walk out of prison, because I think it's pretty much clear that he's going to be doing some time. What all of this money that they're raising up, the reason why they're raising up all this money, as far as getting the counsel, because they just made some changes to the Anthony family. They just made some changes to their legal representation. What they're really doing is they're negotiating the prison time. That's really what they're negotiating here, because this young student, he already acknowledged that he did do it. He said, and it wasn't alleged. He said, I did it. And, based on the initial reporting that was coming from police, this whole claim that he was just sitting there studying for an exam or whatever, and then all of a sudden half the clan of the state of Texas came and, was abusing him and all this other stuff. That's that's far from that. Stick to the facts as they are known and go to this right from the sources. What are the sources in this case? You had the legal representation of both families. All right. Whatever the legal representation are saying and whatever the police are saying, that's all you should be listening to. But all the other stuff here, you got to leave it alone. Like Jai is saying here, he said, I'm done following it. I'm over this racial division stuff. I'm keeping my peace. That's right. And that's what I'm doing, but it doesn't get clicks when you, it doesn't get clicks when you talk like this. You know what I'm saying? It's a shame. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. This is in California, UC Davis. Did you guys hear about what was going on? What happened in UC Davis? Let me see. Hopefully I got it up here. UC Davis. There was a shooting that took place there. This is every day. Every day stuff like this happens. Every day stuff like this happens. And it doesn't get talked about, does it? Let's go ahead and play this video here.
Breaking news in Davis tonight, where police are looking for the gunman who opened fire at an off-campus park hosting a UC Davis event with hundreds of people. And new exemptions to President Trump's tariffs announced, giving a reprieve to some tech companies. Afternoon at about 3 o'clock at Community Park on East 14th Street during UC Davis's Picnic Day. This park is about a mile away from campus. Witnesses say hundreds of people were there for this event. Davis police say 3 people were shot and 1 person was trampled in all of the chaos. All of those people were taken to the hospital. We're told that 2 of those victims are teenagers and the shooter reportedly took off.
We did have a lot of officers in town already as part of our mutual aid plan just for Picnic Day. But we did ask for outside agency help from, I believe, the city of Sacramento, the city of West Sacramento, the city of Woodland, and I believe the Yolo County Sheriff.
An alert was sent to UC Davis students and staff stating that there was no threat to campus and urged people to avoid the area. So far, no one has been arrested and a description of the suspect has not yet been released. We'll, of course, continue to follow this story as the shooting took place.
Now, I'll go ahead and stop there. Okay, so here's some of the things that they're actually leaving out of the story. And I don't know why the mainstream media, I have my ideas, my thoughts on why they do this stuff here. But this happened this weekend. And what they're leaving out is, okay, you have UC Davis. They have their main picnic day, and it's like different organizations on campus and all of that get together. And they just have a picnic day, right? They just have some good time, I guess, music and food and all of that, right? And yeah, they did that. And on off campus at a community park, well, there was a separate group that got together. You want to know who that separate group was? Let me see if I can. It was a fraternity. Yeah, it was a black fraternity that got together there. And so let's go ahead and read it. Davis police on Monday continued to search for the person or people who shot and wounded 3 people in the city community park on Saturday, sending UC Davis Picnic Day revelers scrambling from the chaos. Investigators are looking into an Instagram photo, which I'm about to show you, that surfaced Sunday of an armed man clad in ripped blue jeans and a gray hooded sweatshirt. And it, let's see, they talked about what was going on there. Hold on for a second. This was, let me make sure that's bookmarked. They were having, I'll tell you the fraternity that was there. This was, and here's the video right here. Let me pull this up here. This was Phi Beta Sigma. Phi Beta Sigma was was what was going on at this park. They were having their own little thing that where they got together or whatever. And this is their promo. Now, as I'm continuing here, I am not saying that Phi Beta Sigma is the ones that did this. I'm just simply saying this was clearly a black get together. Okay. So, cause it was separate from what was going on campus. All right. So this is a video that Phi Beta Sigma put out right before this picnic day. So here it is right here, just to give you an idea.
Outside.
Man, you know how they're saying Lambda Kappa chapter doing April 12th Picnic Day every year at Community Park. People coming from all around California come to Davis.
Man, the last few years went up though. How we gonna top that? I don't even know. 2023 we went Cato.
So I can't really play it too much because it sounds like they're playing some other music and I don't want to get copyrighted on that. But yeah, so this was a separate thing that this black fraternity, this is what they were doing at this community park. All right. And so someone with, you read in the article, we just read in the article that they were able to get a picture of one of the shooters. And let me see if I can get that up here. Hold on. Oh yeah, here it is. Let me get this up here. Okay, here it is. This is the gunman that they were able to capture. This is what they're talking about right here. So you can see him right here. Things getting ready to get popped off. I mean, there's no denying. I mean, let's just put it this way. There's no Klan member. Okay. and what he's carrying is an illegal firearm. So much for the whole, we got to pass stricter gun laws. Criminals do not follow the law. That's what makes them criminals. And when they pass these strict gun laws, the only people that are impacted by it are people who do follow the law. This is why it's so asinine when you're listening to these ass clowns like that dude with the afro down in Tennessee, you know, doing a whole hissy fit and throwing whatever it was he was doing, acting all foolish and crazy and talking about, hey, you know, we got to do stricter gun laws. Why? Because my brother, he committed suicide with a gun. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but why does everybody else have to suffer because of that? You understand what I'm saying? That makes no sense. But he tried to bum rush the situation. I'm talking about this guy, I forgot his name, the politician, state politician down there who, you know, the whole situation, the whole argument by bringing up the suicide of his brother. And he just so happened to, unfortunately, he chose a gun to do it. But the gun didn't talk to him and say, do it. There was some other demons that he was dealing with. But here you got California, which has one of the strictest gun laws in the state. I mean, in the country. Criminals don't pay attention to that. Now, here you got, for the most part, most of these black folks, I'm sure, came to this situation to, you know, have a good time, kick back, relax, listen to some music, whatever, right? But we all know up in this house this evening, more often than not, it usually comes with somebody doing this kind of stuff. Now, is there any send goals or GoFundMe for the people that got shot in this situation? Fortunately, from what I understand, nobody got killed. But is the community getting together to help the people who got shot, or do they not fit the narrative? Perhaps they should have gotten some Klan members in there, and maybe we would have an international outcry about this. This just happened. This literally just happened this weekend. But this kind of stuff happens all the time. It happens literally every day. And who are the real victims in all of this? It's other black people. The number one, the most dangerous, when you want to list who the most dangerous people that black folks need to avoid, on top of that list, guess who's going to be? Black folks. That's going to be number one. But a lot of times black folks will keep telling ourselves and say, no, it's white people, it's this group, it's that group. No, it's us. The statistics, they speak for themselves. So this illusion, and that's what we're going to be talking about when we get into the China stuff, because the China stuff, as we get into that, you're going to see people are choosing to stay in this illusion in their minds about what the world really is like. And this kind of stuff, what you're seeing right here on your screen, this happens literally all the time. Now, it may not happen in your community. And if you happen to be black and listening to me, the reason why it may not happen in your community, there's probably a very high rate of y'all who don't live in those communities where there's a high percentage of us, because you know, if you did do that, there's an increased chance that this kind of stuff you're going to encounter. But we don't like to be honest about it, do we? Instead, what we do, we just wave and keep it moving. But this is true. And like I said, I know people don't like when I talk like this, but I don't care. I literally don't care, because I'm not going to be a dummy on this kind of stuff. We gotta be honest with it, and we got to tell the truth. And so that's that story. And yeah, what's his name? Said, let me put this up here on the screen here. He said, yeah, who are these black folks? I never seen these type of people where I am. I don't get it. These fools make it so bad for us. I'm sick of the mental health issues being ignored in our group. It's true and so. True and so. When I tell you, I have videos after videos for the last couple of weeks. All I've been doing is gathering videos. A lot of these videos have been uploaded by other black folks doing all kinds of horrific stuff to businesses, like this one that just happened in Chicago. This is the other story I wanted to talk about. This one took place in Chicago at a Mexican restaurant. Let me see if I can get this up for you. I'll read it for you and then I'll play the video. This is another one here. Police searching for women seen attacking waitress at Pilsen restaurant. I'll just read it for you. A waitress was attacked by two women while working at the Pilsen restaurant, surveillance video shows. And I have the video and I'll show it to you. The attack happened on Saturday. This happened on Saturday too. I told you this stuff happens all the time. I mean, pick a day. You'll find some mess breaking out. The attack happened on Saturday about 8:43 p.m. at the El Taco Azteca at the 2100 block of West Cermak Road. Chicago police said surveillance video shows two women kick, stomp, and batter the 23-year-old waitress. Now, let's say for a moment, if this was a black woman and she was being kicked and stomped and battered, how do you think black Twitter would respond to this? How many large voices that you find online, how many you think will be online right now will already have 20 videos out talking about how, see, this is the struggle of black people today. We have to face this kind of treatment all the time. But then when it's black folks doing it, we don't care. It's like, well, what did she say first? Restaurant owners said the suspects went into allegedly dispute a food order. After eating their food, the women demanded a refund. When the server rejected the refund, the women began to attack the witness. One of the suspects was seen going around the counter. Well, I tell you what, let me just show you the video. I'll just show you the video here. Let me just show you the video. I'll put it up. It's right here. Video's about 1 minute and 45 seconds here. Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen and let's get right to it, okay? Let's see. It would be, the heck is it? Okay, here it is. I'm turn the volume up. So you got the backdrop now. What happened?
A waitress attacked and beaten at a Pilsen restaurant by two female customers who then took off. This happened on Sunday at El Taco Azteca in Pilsen.
I feel rage primarily because something like this has never happened before. And for it to be over a $50 bill just doesn't make any sense. A merciless beating caught on camera, all stemming from a dispute over the check. Before fists flew, a disgruntled customer went behind the bar and dunked the waitress's phone into a bucket after she was told she would not be getting a refund. The restaurant alleges both customers had finished most of their takeout order when they demanded a refund. That same customer then takes her frustrations out on the restaurant. She starts making a mess of the place. Employees tell me the waitress began to call 911, escalating the situation into an all-out melee. The beating continued for about 2 minutes, where both women were seen stomping, punching, and kicking the waitress. I came in, and when I heard what was going on, I was able to pull off one of her attackers. When we finally got them separated, one of them turned to me and started swinging. We're keeping that waitress identity anonymous here tonight. We can tell you, though, she is recovering, but she did suffer a broken pinky, bruises on her head and cuts on her face, as well as bruised ribs. Tonight, the restaurant is calling on Chicago police to find those responsible. And tonight, Marta is not mincing words. She has a message for those responsible. I want them to know we're going to find you, whatever it takes. I'm putting everything I have into this. I have no doubt about it. We're going to find you.
So here, let me just say this, and then we're going to move on to our main feature for tonight. Let me just say this. So for those of you who are very are on the whole like FBA and all immigrants need to leave the country and this is our country and all this stuff, let me tell you something. There are stories like this that happen all the time. It's stories like this that really hurt the argument that you're trying to make. It really does. If this is and this stuff happens often. Am I saying that immigrants don't do bad things to black folks here? No, I'm not saying that. It does happen. But this kind of stuff here, it was over $50. You're going to go to their restaurant, you're going to eat most of your food, and then you're going to demand a refund. And when they say, hey, no, you ate most of it, we're not giving you anything back. That's the response you're going to give. And then something called, I don't know what they called it. The young folks call it Yelp. I think that's what they called it. Where you can, if you don't like the service that you got, you go on Yelp and you put it out there. For example, my family and I, we went to a restaurant recently here in Arizona, and they served us. They put us in our seat or whatever, and I don't know if it was Nicole. Someone noticed. He said, "Why are they seating us all the way back here?" Then we looked. There was some other black folks over there, and they put all the black folks in the back here, And so, but I wouldn't. My mind was not even thinking anything. I was just there. I said I wanted to eat. That's it. I literally wasn't thinking anything. It was just one of those things you notice and you just keep moving, right? Well, they actually did serve, but when we sat down, there was an older black woman. I noticed she was like, I could tell she was not happy. And she was just sitting there waiting. And then finally, she had the manager come. She wasn't acting foolish or crazy or anything like that, but I could tell she was not happy. And then finally they bring her food out. So I was like, dang, it sucks to be her. I'm sorry that happened. I don't know what happened. I just came here. So fast forward a little bit, it's our turn. So we put our order in and we sitting there waiting. You know how long we waited? We waited and the restaurant was not even packed. I think we waited about an hour and a half. It may have been even longer than that. We were just sitting there talking. And then every now and then the waitress, she will come. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it just take a little bit long." And on. I was like, no problem or whatever. And because like I said, literally it was like a hard week. We were just wanting to chill and that's it. So then finally I said, okay, let me go up and see what's going on. So I went up and asked them or whatever, and the manager was there. I didn't even realize that, but he wouldn't make himself known that he was the manager. But I kept my voice cool. I wasn't throwing chairs. I wasn't anything like that, because for me, it ain't worth going to jail over some whatever it was I ordered. I mean, you know what I mean? It ain't worth it. And so I said, well, listen, we've been here for a while. How long it's going to be, whatever. Long story short, I said, you know what? I said, that's okay. I said, the little food that you did bring, which was like bread and a little side thing, the appetizer, I said, I'll be more than happy to pay for that. I didn't even have to. I could have walked out of there. See, I'm really a man of peace. I'm not a pushover, but I just want to just be a clean. Hey, I could have easily made the case and said, listen, I ain't paying for nothing because y'all didn't bring my, no, you did bring me my little bread and you did bring me my salad. Okay, I'll pay for that, but I'm not paying for anything else. In fact, I'm out of here. And so they understood and we parted ways. But I was like, this whole time, this manager could have just easily have come out and said, hey, listen, I'm sorry, this, that, or whatever. But he didn't even have the stones to do that. So I was like, man, I already read the room at that point. I was like, nah, we out of here. So my point is that this kind of behavior happens all the time. I'm telling you. I talk to people, I listen to people who own, black folks who own businesses, who own restaurants. Over the years, they will tell you this kind of stuff happens all the time. This entitlement mindset, you just come in and think, well, you ain't gonna give me nothing. See, as I get every now and then we'll get as a black business, I always try to support y'all, but see this and that or whatever. And so I said, okay, this one particular time I said, okay, let me see what happened here. The person that was complaining, they got their dates all wrong and everything. I said, no, actually we did what we were supposed to do. And we're well within what we state on our site. We did everything we were supposed to do. And that's it. And, and they talked about, that's why I got to go to the other. I said, well, then that's what you probably need to do. Go to the other side or whatever side it is you're going and get what you need to get. But these type of when we talk about entrepreneurship between my wife and I, we have years of experience. When I tell you there are stories that I could tell you, there are many stories that I could tell you. Because it goes from both sides. You got black entrepreneurs that oftentimes that will overprice or overcharge their stuff, and they don't need to do that. You know what I mean? You think just because you got a business, now all of a sudden, let me overcharge by a cajillion dollars. That's wrong, right? But then you got customers that come in and they think that all of a sudden you're supposed to just give them everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's that whole dynamic that I really have never seen anybody not just really talk about it, but really let's provide some kind of solution with that. You understand what I'm saying? But I don't know if you can, because those are some deeper issues that people come in to your facility with. You understand what I'm saying? And so, but these are things that I have seen happen a whole lot. And that's just within when you're dealing with black folks. But I've seen it in other cases like what we see just now in this video that I shared with you. And you want to know why these businesses, good businesses, why it is that you see on the regular, they will get into these communities, they'll stay a little bit, but then they leave. They pack up and leave. They said, I can't do it. I can't. I want to provide a service. I think this is a great opportunity for me to bring something positive or whatever, but then whatever. Now, there are other cases where it was this one case in Atlanta where the business was about to go out of business, and black folks in the community got together. They said, no, that ain't going to happen. We're going to buy up everything in the store and we're going to keep you rolling or whatever. So you do have little light points that do happen. You know what I mean? So we want to acknowledge those things. But by and large, I'm telling you, this is a major issue when it comes to, that's why when I'll be totally honest with you. Anytime I hear the word Black Wall Street, my stomach just goes sour. I can't stand, I don't even want to hear it anymore, because people don't even have a freaking clue about what Black Wall Street really was, what it really represented, what it took to build something like that, the infrastructure, the system, how they had to think and how they had to operate. Most people don't know. They just think that we just all come together, and it don't work that way. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I just wanted to share those two stories with you because I thought those are really important. And these are things that we got to talk about. But like I said, again, every time I talk about it, I lose subscribers. Every time I bring this stuff up, because people don't want to talk about it. But it happens. So we're gonna keep talking about it. But let's go ahead and get in. Let me see what my friend's saying here. He said, happened to my family as well, Brother Dwayne, but we were not having it. Waitress was trying to keep us there, but we decided to go to another restaurant. We never visited that place again. Right. That's how you handle it. You just get up and keep it moving. And my daughter, she beat me to it. She said, I went to Yelp. She went to Yelp and to Google. And then it wasn't like 2 days later, they were like, well, we're so sorry. Here's a coupon. You can come back. Why would I want to come back? But I at least want to let them know, hey, listen, no, that was not right. And that's it. Anyway, when I tell you, there are stories I could tell you. Starting a business when you're in the church, I could tell you all about that. And what happens when you start a business in a church and a lot of your customers belong to the same church. And what happens when you decide to leave that church? What happens to your business? Well, we can talk about that and why that is not the strategy that anybody should go to. You're going to start a business and you're focused and targeted on a particular group of people. You never do that. You never, ever, 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 ever do that. You need to think wide and broad when you're doing a business for real. So anyway, it's that way if one group falls out, you got other places that you can lean on. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's get into this here with China. What's going on with China here? China, as you know, United States has been, going the whole tariff thing right now, with all of these different countries And what they are doing now, they're starting to negotiate a lot of I think the Trump administration said that it was over 70 countries, I think the last count, that have come to them and said, okay, let's renegotiate these tariffs, which is good. And then bottom line, that's going to benefit America. You know, at least that's what we're being told. China is one, that's the big boss. For those of you who are used to playing video games, especially back in the day, you had the final boss. China is the final boss in all of this. And China said, listen, we've been around for 5,000 years. We ain't going nowhere. And so China, the United States raises up their tariffs. China raises up their tariffs. And the United States do a move. China's doing a move. And so you got this back and forth thing that's going on here. And there's a little more, there's some little details in here that I want to go over here. First thing I do is I want to show you what their strategy has been, which has been quite funny and interesting here. But let me get to the videos here. Let me see, where was that? I bookmarked them all. Okay, so let me it's a whole bunch of videos that they up. These are short videos that they have been uploading these on TikTok, and what they're doing is their strategy, China's strategy is, we're going to expose America and the West and show them that all these brand names that you guys think are made in Europe, well, actually we make them. And so here's their little thing that they've been doing here. And it's going to be one video after another here. These are short videos. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit it. And let's take a look at China's strategy on this whole thing here. Let's go. They mad. Louis Vuitton, they showing you, whoa, we make these shoes. And they mad. Okay, let me move on here. Here's another one here. Unfortunately, they playing this music, man. I hope they
28,000 USD. But what is the real cost out of the factory? Today, I'm going to break it down in front of you, step by step. First thing first, Hermes only use the leathers from the 3 top-level suppliers. One is called Nuti from Italy. And the second is Weinheim from Germany. And the third is Haas from France. One piece of Togo leather, the same leather as this one, will cost 450 USD. And one piece of the leather is only enough to make one Birkin, okay? The thread. And of course, for Hermes Birkin, the thread is also the best top level. It's called Fil al Chinois from France. This is actually the Rolls Royce in thread. For each bag, the cost is 25 USD. And then the hardware. See, this hardware is called 316 hardware. It's also known as the ocean stainless steel because it can withstand the erosion of seawater. It's the best stainless steel. For one piece of bag, the hardware will cost 150 USD. The edge oil. This edge oil is imported from Italy. It's called heat sealed edge oil. For each bag, it will cost 50 USD. The interior lining, it used lambskin.
Let me move on because this one's pretty long here. So he's basically he's making a point that, hey, we actually make these bags, but there is something that he's missing when we're talking about leather bags. There's something that he's intentionally missing. He's leaving out, and and I've actually talked about this before, but we'll get to that in a moment here. Here's another one here. Here's another one.
Do you recognize this style, this bag? Of course.
Oh, that's the same dude. Let's go to someone else here. Hold on.
High quality accessories for those luxury brands like Chanel, Estee Lauder, L'Oreal. You're saying you're the supplier behind all these beauty accessories for those big luxury brands? La Brea, MAC, Chanel, Bobbi Brown, and even Rosewood Hotel.
Last week we also received an order, Lois Den. Yeah, the comb like 20,000 pieces, one color.
Now show me your factory, show me the production line.
Here, this is our cutting room. So you can see the machine, here color clip, and here comb here. After cutting, we can take the color clips out. Like this. Here's our molding area. Take off the plate. After make the mold, mold the shape so we can upsell include the spring and flower accessories.
This is like the final touch up. You have
Yeah.
to polish and
Polish.
check like the
defective.
quality control.
Here's our coating.
Anyway, you get the point on that one. They, like I said, they've been dropping these videos left and right. Here's another one.
Do you know who is producing?
Oh, that's the same one. Let's move on to the next one here. Okay, here we go.
In Italy, Gucci, 80% come from Chinese factory. They just add the logo in Europe to make you pay the price of 10 times. Close your eyes. If your hammer says made in China, does it feel cheaper? No, that's not quality issue. It's luxury brand washing. Fun fact, the hand stitching your product, 42% are Chinese artisans. We don't do cheap, we do underrated luxury. Why pay 2,000 Europe for Parisian air? Same leather, same craft, just without the European fairy tale facts. Be a luxury rebel, you can shop on Chinese platforms such as Taobao, 1688, Tianmao, Jingdong. You can even go directly to Guangzhou, Yiwu, Quanzhou, Wenzhou to buy. Don't know how to buy, how to pay, or arrange delivery? Just PM me. GoNest to provide free shopping guidance and.
Okay, so yeah, that's another one here. Let's see. Let me see what he's saying here.
That's a tragedy. That's a scam.
Oh no, I don't care about what he was saying. Let me see. Oh, here's another one.
All made in China. Ralph Lauren.
You get it. Nike, Dior, Lululemon, Apple, Michael Kors, Coach, CK, Prada, all of these, Adidas, all of these are brands that rely on China to make their stuff. Okay. And so what they have been doing, China has been doing, they've been using TikTok, as a way to relay this to people in the West and let them know, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we make all your stuff. And what was so funny about this when I heard this, I mean, there were people like, oh, snap, they revealed, the game over now, it's game over. And I said, well, is it really game over? Does that really mean game over? And I said, when I saw this, I said, it's most people in the West already know that a majority of the stuff that we have, it's made in China. That's not surprising. I mean, as far as our phones, for example, we know that these things are assembled in China. You know what I mean? Anything electronic, I have cameras, electronics, machine, little thing, whatever it is. Many of the things that we have here in the United States today, it comes by way of China. That's the whole point. So people were trying to frame this like this was some kind of great revelation, like at the end of Scooby-Doo when they take the mask off and it's like, oh, Dr. So-and-so, and it was like, no, people already knew this, right? Now, but here's some things here that I do want to bring out. Now, this is an Instagram that somebody did, and we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the things that you need to be aware of what China is doing. Now, I'm saying this from someone who has had business in the past and all that, and businesses now, a couple of businesses now, where I have done interactions with China. So I do have a little insight and understanding on how these people work. You know what I mean? I'm not an expert, but I have a lot of experience with them. You know what I mean? So let me pull this up here. And let me share that with you. We're going to listen to her and what she's saying. I was not able to verify it, but it doesn't sound like she's not really off. I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing this, but it is interesting. So let me just let her talk.
They are offering a 13% cash back on any purchases from American citizens. And not only that, they're going to give you 280 hours of visa-free entry into China to go shopping. No paperwork, nothing to do, no visa needed. You can just go to China and buy whatever it is you want. They said if America wants to try to keep American citizens from buying foreign goods, good luck. Because not only can you come here and buy the same shirt that you would buy in America for $40 and buy it there for $21, they also took away all prosecutions from fake brands. So they used to prosecute retailers who were making knockoff brands.
Listen.
They said, not anymore, honey. You can come buy all you want. They're not prosecuting any of their citizens for making knockoff brands like Nike, Versace, Gucci, none of that shit. And now they're going to give you 280 hours travel free to come on over there and buy whatever it is you want with a 13% instant cash rebate. I think y'all fucked around with the.
No, it ain't all of that. It ain't all of that. So let's talk about what this is. Okay, so it was one thing she said that I'll just probably go in reverse here. That she mentioned, if this is true, and I wouldn't be surprised because desperate times call for desperate measures. But China, for years, it used to be hammered for having all these knockoff businesses. In other words, let's say, for example, Apple, when they have select companies, factories that they work with in China, right? These are the official ones that they work with in China. Now, you'll oftentimes, what happens in China is that there will be maybe some type of, and this is usually the case, there's usually some type of falling out that takes place where somebody gets pissed off and they say, you know what, I'm done. And they will literally, at times, they will build a factory maybe across the street or maybe down the street, but it will certainly be within the same town where they're doing the same thing. This is how highly competitive it is when it comes to manufacturing in China, because a lot of times there's a lot of splintering. You'll have the official manufacturers, then you got all the other ones that were started by cousins and them that couldn't get along, and they said, screw you, we're gonna just do our own thing and all of that. And so the cousins in them, they may not have the contracts with Apple or some of the other high-end companies or labels, but they will be the ones that you will see like on Alibaba or some of the other platforms that she mentioned, where people, small business owners, medium-sized business owners, they can go there and they can make large purchases, so that they can be in competition, right? And so this is what you see a lot. Amazon is flooded with a lot of this stuff that looks like it's legit, but it isn't. And so that's one thing. So if China is doing that, that's not surprising at all. So when they're out here doing these videos and they're saying that they're trying to make it seem as if, you as a customer or a consumer, you're going to be able to go there and go to the same exact manufacturers that manufacture for Apple, that manufacture for whatever luxury brands that you're looking for, that you're going to be able to get a Versace for $10. That ain't happening. That's not happening. Okay. They will take you to a factory that perhaps can duplicate it, but they're not taking you to the official ones. Ain't no business that would do something like that. None. And be successful. If you are a Versace company, let's say you're Versace, and the factory they're making what they've been making with Versace, they're not gonna go away with that and say, okay, let me go with Dwayne and we'll just take the $10. They're not doing that. They still are working with Versace. Versace is still working with those little factories and those manufacturers and all that. They're still working with them. They're not going to throw that all away just so that you can go over there and get some kind of hookup. That's not happening. This is also given opportunity for a lot of these other knockoffs, as she just pointed out, to jump in the fray, and they're throwing out all these videos as well and trying to say, hey, we make official stuff too. We make official stuff too. So people now on a greater level are going to be trying to go that route and think they're getting official stuff, and they're not. I mean, I'm not, and it grades in quality. There's some factories that do very good work, and there's others that's not. There's a black young man that I used to follow on Instagram because I go on Instagram sometime, just for Samba Tree stuff, but he has come out with his own line of sneakers, and I was following him. I still follow him. I just lost track. And because I really was intrigued with his story. He was talking about his experience in trying to find the right manufacturer to make his sneakers. And he was just saying, man, it just took years because, you'll get with one, establish a relationship, then you find out that factory is janky and all that. Then you got to jump with another one and so forth and so on. It's very janky. And so, but he was able to cobble something together and get with factories that can put out a pretty good product. But he's not getting the same access as Nike or some of these other. He's not getting that same access. He'll find someone that's close enough, but he's not getting the same access as some of these other the brand names that are out there. And so that's one thing to keep in mind with that. When you hear all this stuff here, you're not, as much as they're trying to say that, you're going to get the same access that Versace or Saks Fifth Avenue have. No, you ain't getting that. You gonna get the knockoffs, but you ain't gonna get them. That ain't happening. Here's another thing that I wanted to bring up too that I thought was interesting, because they're trying to make this argument that somehow that the West, you guys are so are infatuated with name brands. Well, when I saw this argument, I was like, well, I do know that Western name brands are also very popular with another group, the Chinese. So I said, let me do a search and just verify this, and let me just get the names. So I went to ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT says? Upper income Chinese consumers, especially those in major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou, are known for favoring high-end, status symbol brands. They gravitate towards names that offer a blend of exclusivity, heritage, and craftsmanship, often with a Western cachet. So they're infatuated with the West. So you ain't hurting just the West, you're hurting your own people. If you've ever been to Vegas, go to Vegas, you're gonna see a lot of Asian people up in there, particularly Chinese. Anywhere there's a lot of money, you're gonna find the Chinese there. And the luggage that's rolling in and out of there, it ain't no Chinese brands. Let me tell you that. It's top tier. And here's a breakdown right here. Here are all the brand names that affluent Chinese consumers, they love. Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermes, Dior, Gucci, Celine, Prada, Rolex. I mean, they list them out. Rolls Royce, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Cartier, Tiffany, Estee Lauder, Apple. I'm trying to tell you these. So they're trying to make this case that somehow it's only hurting people in the West, but it's also hurting their own people. But here's the thing. Nobody, even the Chinese, if you're used to buying a bag from Louis Vuitton, let's say you bought a bag from Louis Vuitton, and now this exposure is out now. And now you don't have to get it where it says Louis Vuitton. Now you can get it where it says Mr. Chang. You know what I'm saying? It says Mr. Chang. Do you think people are going to buy a Mr. Chang bag? Big old letters, it says Mr. Chang. You think people are going to buy a Mr. Chang bag? Oh, but Dwayne, you got to understand, it's made the same way. It's got the leather in it, and it's got, yep, you're right. But nobody's buying a Mr. Chang. You know why? And this gets to the thumbnail that I use for this video. Because people have been brainwashed in this matrix system that we're in. People have been brainwashed to only value the label, the brand. That's what they've been brainwashed into thinking. So they can put any name on. If that name isn't what has been for years and years and years seen as a high value, people are not going to get it. They're not going to pick it. People will much rather. Even if you go to a Louis Vuitton store and you see a bag that you really like, And you're like, I want that bag. And then right outside, there's a street vendor that's selling the same exact bag, but it's a Mr. Chang bag. Same exact bag. More often than not, people are going to go into the store and buy that one. Why? Because of the perceived value. And that's how, unfortunately, a lot of people in the West have been groomed and trained to think mentally, is that these, that value is what the name that you put on it. You understand what I'm saying? That's how people, that's what they see. They're like, oh, this is valuable, and this, I want this and all that. But you could change it to whatever you want. People they're not gonna gravitate towards that. You understand what I'm saying? And so China has been doing, so a lot of these things that we see around us, from computers, I guarantee you, I could probably go to China right now and find someone that can make an Apple computer and make it very good. But if they don't say it got a pair on it, I'm gonna be like, I don't want that. You know what I mean? So it's, what this is exposing, if anything, is this matrix system, this construct that we live in, that a lot of it has been built by China, because China has been the conduit for boosting up these name brands that really ain't doing nothing. Let's go a little bit deeper with this, shall we? Let me go to these articles. These are real quick here. I'm just going to run through here. Here's some articles of consideration here, because these people, this whole thing that's, it's exposure now. They're just revealing the dark secrets that China is really behind this. This ain't anything new. This been out. People been knowing this. The Chinese workers who assemble designer bags in Tuscany. This is back in 2018. I'm not going to read the whole article, but this first part I do want you to hear. The first significant wave of Chinese immigrants arrived in the industrial zone around Prato, a city 15 miles northwest of Florence, in the 1990s. Nearly all of them came from Wenzhou, a port city south of Shanghai. For the Chinese, the culture shock was more modest than one might expect. The Italians were friendly. One early arrival remembered, like the Chinese, they call one another uncle. They like family. In Tuscany, business life revolved around small interconnected firms, just as it did in Wenzhou, a city so resolutely entrepreneurial that it resisted Mao's collectivization campaign. The Prato area was a hub for mills and workshops, some of which made clothes and leather goods for great fashion houses. If you're willing to be paid off the books and buy the piece, Prato offered plenty of opportunities. Many Wenzhouans found jobs there. The Italians, being canny, would subcontract out their work to the Chinese. Don Giovanni Mamingli, hope I'm saying that, a priest whose parish near Prato included an early influx of Chinese, told me then they were surprised that the Chinese began to do the work on their own. By the mid-90s, Wenzhouans were setting up textile businesses and small garages where they often also lived. Well, you know the rest of the story. I ain't got to read all that. So these Chinese went over there. They said, listen, you can just pay us whatever. We just want what we're really over here for is to get the knowledge. So these Italians taught them how to make their stuff, and then they beat it. And they said, we're going to go back to China. We're going to go ahead and do this thing. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, so, and then it just blew up. Here's another one. Are your favorite fashion brands using forced labor? This is a big issue. All right, that's another article there. Here's another one. LVMH's Italian Dior maker is being investigated for outsourcing its luxury manufacturing to Chinese-owned firms that allegedly exploit workers. This has been around. This ain't anything new. Dior, Armani's pricey handbags made by migrant workers who make $2 an hour cost $57 to make. Let me see what else. Is that it? Okay. Let's see. Let me go to this one here. Now, I've mentioned this before. and some of y'all, this may be the first time you heard this. Now, have you ever heard someone say Italian leather? Italian leather. Oh man, you go to the grocery store. Wow, that's a nice grocery store if you can get Italian leather. If you go to a store and they'll tell you these shoes are made from Italian leather, or this whatever it is, Italian leather. Well, what if I were to tell you that a lot of what we call Italian leather isn't really Italian? In fact, a lot of it comes from Africa. Now, this is where I want you to latch on and hold on, because this is where we get to solutions. Okay? Like most important discussions that take place in the 2020s, it began on TikTok. Let me see. Hold on. This is where I want to go. Let me see what this was. Oh, here it is. This is it right here. In a 2021 Vogue article, I'm not going to be able to say this person's name here because I don't want to mess it up. It's a Nigerian person here. Revealed that Winston Leather's tannery, or it's called God's Little Tannery in Kano, it's in Nigeria, supplies brands such as Louis Vuitton and Ralph Lauren. Now check this out. EU laws stipulate that the country of origin of finished goods is the country where the final product process occurs. That has enabled luxury fashion houses that source raw leather from Africa and even begin the production process there to tag their products as, for example, made in Italy. So do you understand? So basically, the law in the EU is, hey, as long as you do have some part in the manufacturing of it, we're going to allow you to say made in Italy or made in the UK or made here or whatever. You don't have to mention Africa. Can you imagine all of these bags and all of these leather products out here, if they were to take away made from Italy, made in Italy, and put made in Nigeria? You imagine what that would do to their sales? It's the same bag. They're using the same materials. But what they'll do is they'll send the leather in Nigeria. They send the leather up to Italy, and they have craftsmen and stuff that's there that will add the logo and add a little this or that or whatever. And then boom, flip it around and go ahead and, send it out to the market. So Nigeria is well known for that. I remember hearing about that not too long ago. I was like, dang, things you learn. Let me see. There was something else here. I don't care about that. I don't think that's going to be relevant. Okay, so let's go to... that's, it is relevant. Okay, so, there's been this map going around, they were talking about how much land that the Chinese own in America, and it's a significant amount, but let's do this thing we call perspective, okay, shall we? Let's look at who are the biggest landowners. And this is, again, we're talking about this matrix system that has been created, and it's just a bunch of illusions. And it has you looking one way, but you're ignoring everything on this other side too. Let me give you an example here. Now, China, you know how much percentage they did the math here. They said China holds approximately 384,000 acres of land here in the United States, which is it comes out to 1% of all foreign held U.S. agricultural land. 1%. So when you hear in the mainstream media, they're like, oh, China, we're going to have to do something about China because they own all this land in the United States. And how dare. Okay, follow me. Let's look at the top 5 foreign landowners in the United States, shall we? Okay, so number 5, Germany, roughly 2.6 million acres. China has 384,000 acres. Germany has 2.6 million acres, which comes out to 6%. So that's Germany. Number 4, the UK, the United Kingdom. Same amount, about 2.6 million acres. Number 3, Italy. Approximately 2.9 million acres. That comes to 7%. Number 2 is the Netherlands. The Netherlands, you know how much land they own? 5.2 million acres. That comes out to 12%. And guess who's number 1? Guess who's number 1 in land ownership in the United States? They own approximately 12.8 million acres, which comes out to 31% of all foreign-held agricultural land. Canada. Canada is number 1. And then you got, like someone just mentioned, Bill Gates. He owns, I guess he owns the rest of it. And then BlackRock too. So if you sitting here in the United States and you think that somehow this is America and, you know, God bless America and all that. Okay, all right. But America has been parsed out a long time ago. This is a globalist society, a world that we live in. And this illusion that you have that this is our country and all that, apparently it isn't. And what's so funny is they want you to focus on the 1% that China owns, but Canada, the Netherlands, Italy, the United Kingdom, and all this stuff, they own a lot more of that. Let me tell you something else. You know, again, they're trying to paint the picture that China is our arch enemy and we got to take them down and all that. But why are they not bringing that same smoke when it comes to, you know, in the sciences? You know, we just saw this with COVID. You got the United States working hand in hand with Chinese. They're working, you know, with Chinese scientists and all of that. They've been doing this. When it comes to Hollywood, China has a significant stake in Hollywood. A lot of these studios, China has a significant stake in a lot of Hollywood studios. So this whole, and so when they talk about, so when they're sitting here and they're talking about how, again, that this is your country or whatever, it isn't. We live in a matrix system that's owned by different corporations and different companies. And that's what it is. That's what it is. This is not like this, you know, this is your country, 'tis a thee or whatever. No, it's not that. We live in, it's multiple businesses, multiple corporations, multiple countries own all of this that we have, period. So you can, you know, the FBA people, they can fight all they want. This is our land and this is our flag. Well, you know, the flag was probably made in China. You know what I mean? And all that land you see out there, yeah, they probably own it too. So this is kind of how the world works here. Now, last thing, and again, like I said, I want to get to the whole solution stuff, is that Bill Gates, that's what it was. Bill Gates had a short video, and I want to play this because he provided some more insight as to why it is that companies, you know, tend to go with China to get their stuff made. No, it wasn't Bill Gates. This is Apple. I'm sorry. This is Apple. I said Bill Gates. This is the guy over Apple. And he's going to explain this now. Let me get this up on the screen. And I want you to listen to it. You're going to be a little surprised at why he say that U.S. companies tend to go with China. Let's listen in what he's saying here.
There's a confusion about China, and let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. The reason is because of the skill, the quantity of skill in one location, and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling. And the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art. And the tooling skill is very deep here. You know, in the US, you could have a meeting of tooling engineers and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China, you could fill multiple football fields. It's that vocational expertise is very deep, very, very deep here. There's a
Now, okay, so you heard what he said. He said it's not so much cost, and I would argue, I'm sure that has something to do with it, but it's also skill set. Now, this is where I want you to really make sure you hear me out on this. As many of you guys know, vocational, the demand to, our educational system used to have a component of vocational skill sets, and to a measure, it's there, but it's really not built into the culture these days, right? It's not making sure you have a vocation, make sure you have a skill set that you can use when everything else goes. You always have a skill set that you can lean on. That used to be something that was really enforced. Some of you guys that are women in the audience that of a certain age, I know you can relate to this. I'm sure many of you grew up in a time where your mother taught you how to sew. That was just a thing. You just knew, your mom or your grandmother or whatever, they were going to teach you how to sew. And that was a skill set that you brought with you, when you got married, you had kids or whatever. Guess who was the one that was sewing up the holes in the clothes? It was the mother. And where did she learn that from? From her mother. But this was also a skill set that can be used if you had to get out there and find a job at a certain time, in another time. But sewing is something still of value. Unfortunately today, many cultures in the West don't see it that way. It's something that was, I think, dismantled largely due to feminism, the feminist movement and all of that, and wanting to get the woman out of the house. But here, this other part too, I'm using sewing as an example. That's not just a woman's thing. That's also a man's thing too. Who do you think are the tailors that make a lot of these suits back in the day, and even to a certain extent now? It's men. So sewing is not a women's thing. It's something that both men and women can do. But how many people have you heard really emphasizing and focusing and honing in on sewing? Just something. I'm just using sewing as an example. Then you got auto repair. Of course, that's a whole nother thing as well. Computer, for me, I guess I kind of took a vocational thing and made a career out of it, in my earlier days, and that was repairing computers. But by the time I graduated, everything went to software, so I had to relearn software and all that stuff and teach myself all of that stuff. But fixing computers and doing things like that. But vocational skill sets, that's something that's been severely lacking in this country. And when Trump is sitting up here saying that they're going to bring manufacturing back to the United States, make no mistake about it, it's not going to be Rosie the Riveter kind of situation where people are going to be having their lunch boxes, like Fred Flintstone, he going to work, and then, everybody's ding, 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 working on skyscrapers and all that, and all that. It ain't that. Guess who's coming in to take that place? Robots, right? So what people, I'm talking about the younger people now, the focus needs to be more on thinking ahead and, okay, someone's going to need to repair those robots. Somebody's going to need to repair some of these systems. HVAC systems, for example, that's something everybody wants to stay cool, right? Things like that, plumbing, being an electrician. These are things that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, robots ain't going to be able to do all of this stuff. But there needs to be a greater emphasis on that. And I'm going to tell you right now, for example, let's get back to this purse example. Let's say if you had somebody here, first of all, it's established that women love purses. They love their bags, right? That's their thing. They love their bags. Unfortunately, you got some guys that are out there like that too. They want their merces or whatever they call it. But we ain't talking about them. We're talking about women. Women love your purses. And right now, it's all the big brand names that are out there that's attracting them. But what if you said, hey, listen, I want to get a bunch of people together and I'm gonna learn how to assemble purses. I want to learn this sewing skill set or whatever, and really get it down, get my training in or whatever. You already got a connection. You can get a connection in Africa, right? In Nigeria, and then start getting your leather from there. I'm just throwing out ideas here. Start sourcing your leather from Africa. And then you could start making high quality purses on your own. But like I said, again, we live in a matrix system that's so all they see are brand names. That's going to be the biggest. That's going to be the bigger hurdle. It's not that you're not going to be able to make the quality, but it is going to be the brand name, and that's where this brainwashing stuff come in. But can people position themselves in a way where they can actually be a solution in this time where, you know, what China is doing? They just threw a wrench in the whole thing, and now people just scatter and looking wherever for quality. You could actually be an answer to that. But what we're seeing now within the, you know, Black or African diaspora is there's a lot of division, you know, and as long as that division is there, that won't even work either, because you got certain people and they ain't us and I don't want to work with them. And then vice versa. There's some stuff coming from that side too. But again, I'm just pointing out to you from an entrepreneur perspective, these little discussions that pop off on social media that bring division and all of that. Look at what it does. Look at what it keeps a lot of Black folks from doing, from being a solution and developing our own stuff where we don't need China, where we don't need these brand names. We can come up with our own stuff. Black folk been saying this for years, and we'll do it. And then once it gets to a certain level, then what happens? You just take and sell it off to the bigger brand names. But there has to be, but I think this is a wonderful opportunity. What China has done is created an opportunity, because right now people are looking all over right now, because now they see, oh really? Okay. Yeah. China makes it or whatever. What I'm telling you, anybody that's watching this, is that if you had the willpower to do it and you had the intelligence, and of course, you're going to have to get the money too. We understand that and get it. What I'm telling you is that this is a wonderful opportunity for you right now to jump in to a situation where you're creating your own manufacturing on things like bags, for example. I've been telling myself for a minute, my daughter, we bought this sewing machine for her. She ain't have touch it. I said, listen, I need to learn that just to learn it. But it's things like that. I'm saying that these are the solutions that I think can really make a difference for a lot of people, because a lot of people, you're just waiting to get hired from somebody. What I'm telling you is that this is a time right now. If you want to start a business, this is a pocket that's wide open right now, and you can do it. And there are ways that you can connect with the right people and get quality product out there. And but like I said, again, coming from Black folks, the biggest hurdle, unfortunately, is going to be the whole name brand thing. That's going to be one of the biggest hurdles that you're going to do. But to be able to make something that is of a high quality, you can definitely do that. And then you just have to work on your marketing piece and try to really work hard at convincing folks, hey, listen, this ain't a Louis Vuitton, it's me. You know what I mean? And I put quality in it. Spend your time really educating people on your product. Walk them through step by step how you assemble it and how you put it together and all of that stuff, and show them why this is of value. You understand what I'm saying? You have to educate people on your products when you come up with stuff like this. And so it's a long process, but it is something, like I said, right now, if you have any ideas of doing something, this is it, especially in manufacturing. And I would definitely say in honing in on some of these vocational skills, because there are going to be other things like chip manufacturing. And here in Arizona, there's a major chip manufacturer that's building, or I don't know if it's built yet or it's going to be built, one of the two, chip manufacturing. But I'll tell you right now, it's going to be more robots doing that. So I don't know if you want to look in that direction, but when it comes to these brand names and clothes and stuff like that, I will tell you that there are other countries outside of Africa that can, outside of China, that where you can source your stuff. This is what we try to do at Samba Tree by, really focusing on farmers that are in Africa or, in the Caribbean or whatever, landowners or whatever. And we really try our best to try to source things from them. And then we can create our own little economy just based off of that. So, we really try to do that. And, I'm gonna be working even harder on that this year. So, but anyway, that's it. That's all I wanted to share with y'all today on this. And there are solutions for this, but we have to be willing to face this nonsense stuff too, and clean this stuff up. And if we're not willing to do that, then everything else is just pie in the sky. But I think that's all I have. Let me see who else, anything else. Someone said now okay, let me put it up here. They said, now the focus is going to college and running up all types of debt. Exactly. That shouldn't even be your focus. Don't you, people, colleges and universities now, there are many, especially a lot of these Ivy League schools, they provide a lot of free education, Now, you're not going to get your degree. You may get a certificate, but there's a lot of things you can do now and get. If you want that education from them, you could do it. And a lot of these schools, they actually offer it for free. So you don't have to tie yourself into debt. But unfortunately, it's been like that, where they tie these students into debt. It's a game. It's a whole game. And then they get the students in these schools, and then you flood their books with all these little pamphlets on you can get 3 credit cards right now, or 10 credit cards. It's all a game. So what someone said, drone tech. Yeah, that's another good one. Learning how to repair drones. These are little ideas. These are things I'm just putting this out there in the space, for us older people. Some of this stuff may be, we can focus on some other things, but for the younger people, these are things I'm encouraging you need to look into, because that's one of the reasons why China is where they are right now, because these people, built in their culture is the importance of these vocational skills. And that is something that we need to have within our own little spaces, and putting a value on that and building our own things. And, working with wood, that's another thing. Wood shop, that kind of stuff. Those things are very important. People do pay for those things. There's a Team Truth, you've been to Potato Barn. I did a video on Potato Barn. Potato Barn, if you really nice furniture store, beautiful furniture store. They get stuff from all over the world there. I mean, if you didn't see the video, I put it on Samba Tree YouTube page. It's beautiful. But I look at these pieces of furniture that they put together. I'm like, it ain't really nothing. But they charge $400, $500, $1,000, And so these are things that we got to focus on. You know what I mean? In this wave that we're in right now. And I'm telling you, we're in a time right now. If you're going to do it, you better do it. So that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care. And I will see you again soon. Okay? Take care. And thanks for listening in. Take care.